Hello, this is Israel Ratz, CEO of Ratzback Media. Yesterday, in this YouTube card, click on this video right over here, we talked about the fact that strategies have changed a lot in the last few years in online marketing, and many people are still using those old strategies, and that you should not be doing that. So today I want to talk about how important it is to be testing. There's a famous line that everyone talks about that's ABC, always be closing. So I have my own, it's always be testing, ABT. So I think that it's incredibly important to be testing because you never know what will work best in your market. Will Periscope work better than Facebook Live? Will a photo work better than a video? Will a Facebook video do better than a YouTube video? Will an email that's in HTML work better than one with images and big buttons and pictures? You never know what works the best until you test. We talked about a long time ago in a video about how important failure is for anyone, because without failing, you'll never know what didn't work so that you could find what did work. So this is that same thing. You need to be willing to try things out and putting things up, and even if they're not, obviously you should do the best to make that piece of content as good as it can be, but don't be afraid that it's not good enough because it wasn't it's not what everyone says it should be, because you don't know what will end up working best for your market. There's this saying that I actually don't know how to end, so if anyone knows, write in the comments, but everyone says you're only as good as your last. And I found so many versions of it. I looked on Google, I found you're only as good as your last book, you're only as good as your last performance, you're only as good as your last at-bat. I don't know what the actual phrase is, so if you know, write it down in the comments. But a lot of people would say you're only as good as your last video, you're only as good as your last post on Facebook, you're only as good as your last tweet. But it's not true, because if you could always post again. And if you've built a community of people that have seen your stuff and know that you're good and know that you're testing and know that you're trying things out, and something doesn't look right, I mean, let's say you put up a YouTube video and everyone says, but wait, you've always said Facebook videos work better, why would you put a YouTube video? If you just respond, well, I'm testing. That's the only way to know. The only way to truly know is to test and see what happens. So you need to be willing to do that, and you shouldn't be afraid that people are going to look down on you and say that you did something wrong, because if you didn't test, you wouldn't know. That's literally the only way to actually know if what you're doing is right. So as opposed to just reading articles and seeing what other people have done and knowing that it's worked for years and that you should continue doing it that way, just try something new. And if it doesn't work, worst case scenario, you delete the post and then you can post it again with the other video. There's no problem with that. As far as I know, you could delete posts on Twitter, you could delete posts on Facebook, and you could delete posts on Instagram, and just do that. Really, it's really not that bad. I've seen a lot of posts that have been very negative, and even after they were deleted, they were talked about because people had screenshots. But as long as you don't write anything negative and you're just testing out new things to see what works, no one's going to complain. And even if they do, the worst case scenario is you just delete it. So I hope that you like this video and that you will not be afraid to test new things in your market and see what works best for you. Maybe another example is trying to sell on Amazon as opposed to trying to sell on your own web store. Maybe you will have more success just using maybe using Etsy as the option, or Alibaba, and you'll never know unless you test these different options. So don't be afraid to test, and please give this video a like and a share and a thumbs up and a comment down below if you've had any tests that you thought would be failures, but then ended up being something that worked out so well for you and it did really well. And if you would never have tested it, you wouldn't have known. I'd love to know that story. So please put that down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.